What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Noah Griffith. Welcome back to episode 6 of the Rare as Us podcast. So, back in March, in my blog post, Why I Ride, I talked about my first experience at Ride Taxi in 2019 and just how freeing and what a carefree experience it was riding a trike or recumbent bike for the first time. And now I have one of my own that I was granted through the Taxian Athlete Initiative, so AAI in 2020. So just how big through Ride Taxi and through that, how big riding that trike has become in my life, in my fight against FA, physically and mentally, and also emotionally. Just like I said, to be given such a great opportunity to fight against FA, it's something I can do and I can do well. And it's a goal of mine to be able to do it for longer and longer and to keep that mobility in my legs. And so it helps keep me driven. It helps to over the future and getting together with the community around tax every year. It gives us a reason to get together, gives us a reason to fundraise, to fight against FA, and to push closer to a cure and more treatment. And so it's been a big turning point in my journey, in my FA journey. It's that ride in 2019 led to me becoming a fair ambassador at the beginning of 2020. I mean, the guy at the head of all of it is Kyle Bryant, the founder of Ride Taxia and the Ride Taxia director. You guys, if you've been to Ride or if you've read anything about it, know who Kyle Bryant is. Like a he's someone that everyone looks up to in the FA community, and he's holding the mic, he's chanting Cure FA for everyone to join in. He's leading the way for everybody, and he sets a great example just by riding his trike and empowering the rest of the community to do the same and to join the fight against FA. And then with him is Sean Baumstark, who rode with him in their initial race across America, which they will be joining me today to talk about. So, it's two like FA celebrities, like everyone. If you're familiar with the FA community or you've been to a fair event, you know who these two guys are. They make themselves known and they have their voices heard in so many ways. And so I wanted to have them on to talk about some of those ways they're able to overcome and answer life with FA, because their main quote is life is about how we react. We can't control having this disease or the symptoms that come along with it, but we can control how we respond and continue to live life with dignity and strength and hope in the midst of all of it. And so I'm beyond excited for you guys to be able to hear from them. I've never met Sean in person, but he's an outstanding guy. Um, just listening to their Two Disabled Dudes podcast, seeing all the work that they do with the limited time and energy that comes along with life with FA. They do so much and truly make the most of all they have. And so without further ado, let's have them on. What's up, Kyle and Sean? Welcome to the Rare as Us podcast.
Glad to be here. Thanks, Neil.
Yeah, excited to talk to you today.
Great to have you guys. Thank you for joining. As if y'all need any introduction, can you just give us a short blurb of who you are and what you do?
We're the Two Disabled Dudes. We have a weekly podcast and we talk about life beyond circumstances, no matter what those are. Sean and I have the same rare disease that you have. Obviously, you know that, but it quote limits our mobility in many different ways. But we're really interested in finding ways to get around those limits and still live as full life as possible. And that's kind of a lot of what we talk about on our podcast.
Yeah, let's see. We're both early 42, and we've known each other since 07, I guess. So just under 20 years. We've done some really cool bike rides together and fundraising, and the podcast came out of one of those big events. And we both live or have day jobs on top of what we do for the podcast and whatever else. We're just trying to maximize whatever time and effort we can contribute to, I guess, making sure we can pay our bills, but then also contributing to the rare disease community as a whole.
And you two, like you mentioned, do a lot together. You did the Race Across America, which we'll talk more about. You host the podcast together. Y'all do a ton of great work. So tell us how it all got started. How did you two meet, and how did you develop this kind of relationship?
I was diagnosed in 1998 and spent the next 10 years trying to figure out what the heck to do with the rest of my life. And in 2007, I did a bike ride from San Diego to Memphis, 2,500 miles in 59 days. And first of all, it was a lot of fun to just ride a bike every day for 2 months. That was probably the most amazing thing. But also during that time, I was writing a blog and I wrote a post about every 3 days, and I started getting comments from all over about how the actions in my family's lives, the ride specifically, how that was helping people face the challenges in their lives. And I was like, all right, I'm on to something here. And I love this. So let's be going. And so the following year, that between after that ride, Sean reached out to me, and we happened to be living in the same city, which is a crazy coincidence. We were not that far from each other, and we went to dinner. We went out and got beers, and shared with each other a little bit about our philosophy for wanting more out of life and not accepting that our disability was a death sentence or an end to life. And that was kind of the seed of some of the things. It's really amazing what happens when you find somebody else with a similar mindset and you go, oh, I'm not just crazy, that I want more. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Actually, it's probably a really good thing. But when you find somebody that has that similar mindset, it's really amazing. The doors and just the dreams, as Sean called it, dreaming. I remember that when we first met, he said, I'm dreaming big and I want to dream big and all that. So that was kind of our first meeting and sort of the genesis of a lot of the different things like Race Across America and the podcast.
And so you talk about meeting up in the same city. What city was that? Where'd y'all live?
Sacramento, California. And I'm still here.
Okay, so Kyle, where are you now?
I'm right outside of Philadelphia. So opposite coasts, East Coast, West Coast.
So you talk about that leading to the Race Across America, which y'all did in 2010. Is that right?
Yep. 2010.
What's the connection between that and Red Taxi as it is today, where you have events all across the country for the whole community?
The connection is really a connection of like, I don't know, like idea or emotion or ideal. That was an individual effort that our team did, and we did for Farah. Ready Taxi is actually a program of the Friedrichshain Taxi Research Alliance. And so I think that the connection is just that, Race Across America was a manifestation of our ideal to live beyond circumstances. And, that's a lot of what Red Ataxia is about.
And Sean, this question is for you. When y'all got together and talked about this idea of a race across America, how did you put that into action? It's a big idea, right? How do you fulfill such an ambitious idea like that?
Yeah, originally the idea had nothing to do with me. So I knew it was something Kyle was gonna do, and I thought that's cool. But in a few months' time, the team that he was a part of, for whatever reason, was no longer doing the event. I think, they backed out. So now Kyle has got the bug to still do Race Across America, but he has no teammates.
Mhm.
So he needed teammates. So he calls me, this is at like December, and the race is in June. And he's like, hey, that team's we're not doing it anymore, so I'm gonna build a new team. Do you want to help me out in terms of do you want to ride with me? And I'm like, oh, let me get back to you. So it took a couple days or a week, I don't remember, but talked to work, talked to my family, and I don't know, just as you begin to really wrap your head around the the mon the size of the event and everything that goes into it, you realize, okay, it's tough work and that's gonna require a lot of time and training, but we knew everybody involved was committed equally. There was nobody was doing us a favor just because they were bored. Everybody was committed to raising awareness and being a part of the contribution toward a treatment and a cure. So once I began to realize everybody's commitment, it was an easy decision for me, knowing that no matter what, we're gonna have a finish, and everybody's committed to that. So it just made the idea of it come together a little bit easier for me, if that answers the question.
And you talk about your sort of response being like concerned, it sounds like a huge thing. And with that fact, we do have a limited amount of energy and a limited amount of physical, physical power. How many miles did you say y'all went?
It was 3,000 miles. Yeah, 3,000 miles. So it was about 100 miles per day per person. The guys that were a little bit slower, like me and Sean, I was probably the slowest. But the other two guys rode probably a few more miles, barely a few more miles than us, but just because they were faster. We mainly divided it up. We tried to by time on the road.
And again, I should mention all this whole story Kyle wrote in his book Shifting into Higher Gear, which was published in 2019. Talks more about this in his movie The Ataxian, which y'all can go. I believe Shifting into Higher Gear is available on Amazon or pretty much anywhere. And where's The Ataxian available to watch?
The Ataxian is available for free on YouTube.
Okay.
So anytime, yeah.
Yeah, no excuse not to go watch it. It's free. So
You
But
you don't
again,
have to go watch it. You can lay in your bed and just pull it up on your phone or smart TV these days.
there you go. There you go. No excuses, people. So back to you, Sean. Whenever I read the book and whenever I hear about the physical feat that y'all did, I just think like it sounds impossible to me. I know I ride my bike like 10 miles or something and I get tired. So how the heck did y'all like manage to complete this and manage your symptoms of FA along the way?
Well, hands down, if we didn't have our teammates, Mike and John, there was no way we would have hit our deadline. So, we got two slow riders in me and Kyle. Then we had two badass cyclists in John and Mike.
Yep.
They both still are powerful cyclists who love riding and are very strong at doing so. So they carried the burden of, speed and time. But again, we had an entire team, not just the four cyclists, but our whole team was like 17 people, I think. I don't remember the exact number, but we had a very strong group of support as well. So everybody went into knowing all we're going to do is pedal and sleep. That means we need somebody to load the bike on and off the. We need somebody to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. We needed somebody to put our sleeping bags out when it was time, and we get a team that helped manage those limitations, and everybody on the team was very familiar with what we were up against. Some were, more intimately familiar than others. Everybody came to the table with this open mind of whatever it takes, we're gonna do it. Um, I was tired a lot, especially when you ride 20 or 30 miles, then you only get to sleep for 2 hours. That's tough. Um, but the driving force was always there's only one goal here, and that's to finish. So that I think being in the moment allows you to not ignore but push through the barriers and challenges of lower energy.
Yeah, and you talk
And
about fatigue. I'll listen to y'all's podcast a bit, so I know you're a huge fan of Starbucks. Did you go this whole trip without your Starbucks?
I don't know that I was addicted to it back then. I don't think Starbucks was really on my radar at the time. But I was certainly a fan of Taco Bell,
Mm,
and we got that like on day 2 or 3, and that was absolutely necessary. Actually, it may even be day 1. I don't remember, but it was early on in the race where I was not feeling great, and Taco Bell was the solution.
yeah.
Taco Bell was the cure for your stomach issues.
Yep.
Uh,
Oh, that's
on
great.
the fatigue thing and riding a trike, I would also add that we did a lot of training and prep.
Mm,
And we didn't just go out and ride 100 miles a day for 8 days, like right off the bat. It was certainly that 10 miles. And or when we both started riding, it was like, all right, 10 miles. And then maybe 12 the next time. And then,
Mm.
14, and then you build up, right?
yeah.
And I think that, it's persistence. Like a lot of it is, and just sticking with it, because
Mm.
for me, I have so much fun on the trip. Like, it's my favorite place to be. And so I don't mind going out and spending 3 or 4 hours on the trike, and being really exhausted at the end because I just went out and did my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so you talk about how much you love it, and there's people all across the FA community with trikes now. That's like a thing for our disease. But like, you had to start somewhere, right? So how did you
Hmm.
develop a love for riding what you have? And
I saw somebody who had MS. I saw them online, and they were about to circumnavigate the country on their trike. And I'd never seen a trike before. And a light bulb went off. And I could feel myself, at that time I was still walking, but I was like, this is temporary. And I can't move very well, but I think I could probably do that. So I think when I sat down on a trike and took my first pedal stroke, the contrast between the way I felt when I wasn't on my trike, where my mobility was limited, and then the feeling I got when I took that first pedal stroke, and it felt like the possibilities were endless. And that's really the feeling that I've personally been chasing every time I get on my trike. I just want to feel that again. And I do. It's crazy that it's never worn off. In what my first ride was in 2005, and that feeling is still apparent every time I get on my trike.
and today I'm wearing my Rod Taxi jersey, as you can see from Orlando
Yeah.
in 2019. That was my first ride, and the first time I met you as well. And I talked about this in my March blog post, which is at knowandnoah.blog if you want to go read about why I ride. And just the first time I rode a trike at that ride, I rented one. I just felt like, it takes care of the balance for you, so you don't have to worry about like falling and crashing. And
Yeah.
growing up, I wasn't able to ride a two-wheeled bike even before my diagnosis. Like I never stuck with it.
Yeah.
So it just feels really, the word I'd give to sum it all up is just empowering. It's freedom. And like you said, you're doing it on your own power. And that's something that I think is really powerful. Just people now who get diagnosed with FA, it's not only do we have our first approved FDA treatment to kind of, slow down progression, give us some hope, but to have riding a bike as a thing people can look to, I think is a huge deal. And you guys have
Mhm.
set a great example through what you have done with that.
I think when it comes to diagnosis, what I love is nowadays somebody can go on Google or whatever browser they choose, search engine, and they type in ataxia or Friedreich's ataxia, and they start to see all kinds of pictures and videos of all kinds of people
Mm.
riding a trike and participating in different events. And like I said, that's empowering because you begin to see, okay, this isn't a complete death sentence where I gotta sit in my couch all day and not move because it's too dangerous. I can't walk, blah blah blah. But instead, we can see, like Kyle, you see somebody doing something and you think, wait, I can do that,
Mhm.
and the possibilities become endless at that point.
You guys ride a lot, but we haven't
I
even,
don't. He does. I don't.
yeah, you guys have done a lot of riding, but like that's just touching the surface of the work you guys do. So, can you tell me a little bit about the goal of y'all's podcast, Two Disabled Dudes, and what's some of the favorite things y'all have done with that?
I guess first the objective and then the goal. When it first started, the objective was, when we watched the film The Attack Scene, we were seeing some incredible talking points, conversations that could go on or be touched on quite often. So that was the objective. Let's build a space where we can continue this mantra of doing things kind of beyond your circumstances. So that's where it all started. The goal, I think there are probably several. The first couple that come to mind is one, encourage the listeners. Find people, or hopefully they find us, and realize there's a whole lot more to life than a diagnosis or a hardship, whatever that might be. Maybe a broken relationship, or finances, or lost loved ones. We all deal with painful stuff in life. And the goal and hope was to encourage people beyond those challenges. It got throw in awareness and education in there somewhere. People that maybe have not heard of a resource or not heard of a research opportunity, but maybe they stumble upon something because of a comment that was made on the show.
That's right. I would add that, it's personal too, or like in a way it's a little selfish. Like one of my things is like I've got a lot to talk about just in my own life, and I like to be able to talk about it with Sean, with someone who understands a certain aspect of my life that nobody else understands. And so a lot of it, and I think that I hope that other people like to listen, but really, a lot of it for me is just that I want to talk about some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I know I love to listen. I know my parents have. I think one of my favorite things about y'all's podcast is a segment y'all do called where you bring awareness to storylines or things people doing with disabilities that may not be heard of otherwise. I'm not sure what
Newsworthy.
is news.
We've been calling that one newsworthy.
Yeah, that's been one of my favorite parts to listen to.
Nice.
Just again bringing that empowerment, because I think I talk about this in my May blog. I feel like a lot of accomplishments, like what y'all do with Race Across America, and amazing things people with disabilities do, don't get the same recognition. And not because they're sometimes because it's unreported on, but even more so because I feel like people are just like focusing on the fact that you're overcoming a disability, or you're only strong because you have a disability and you're able to overcome a struggle, and not just that you're strong in general for doing what you did physically.
Yeah, I think so. I think the most remarkable thing about Noah and Sean and Kyle right now, it's not that we have the FA. It's that, we're looking in life for the biggest things that we can and trying to get the most out of the time that we have. Yeah, FA is here. FA goes along with us everywhere we go, but we are separate from that. And, despite what the disability or what the challenge is, I think just having the mindset to achieve and get the most out of life, no matter what the challenge is kind of the remarkable thing.
Yeah. When I die, I don't want people saying, "Oh, that poor guy, he had this dreadful disease." What I want them to say is, Holy crap, this guy rode his bike across country. You know, he went to India, he did the same. He went to Australia, he did the same. He climbed these stairs, he did these hikes, this mountain. And I want all of that to lead first. And then maybe they close it out with, and he did all that with this disease. I don't know what that's worth, but I don't want the disease itself to be the identifying factor for me.
Because what I think of, the reason why I bring that up is like whenever people with disabilities get to the gym, it's like, oh, you're so inspirational because you're working out with a disability. It's not just like, it's not just seeing us, you're working out like everybody else.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
Last night, it happened last night. I'm leaving the gym, and there's a young guy, probably your age, and you can tell he lives in the gym probably. But as I'm walking by him and a group of friends by the car, I walked right by, and he was like, looked at me, kind of gave me a fist bump, and he was like, "Hell yeah, man! I'm proud of you. Keep it up." And I'm like, "Cool," but do you
yeah,
say that to everybody that walks by you?
And I wonder if his reaction to you would have been different if he weren't among a group of friends. Like, was he just saying
Yeah.
that to like look like the guy who's being nice to a disabled dude? Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, it is funny. It doesn't bother me. I'm not offended by it. It actually, in a sense, kind of makes me feel good. Like, hey, cool. But it is kind of silly.
yeah, definitely. I don't think you're ever like mad at someone for saying that, but I think it's like, would you say that to me if I wasn't using a walker? Or
Sure.
would you say that to me if I wasn't in a wheelchair or, whatever? I say all that to say you guys are not just incredible because you have FA, it's because of how you've responded to that and how you live your life with such strength and determination to set an example for everyone else in the community and really everyone else in general. Because, like you said, everyone goes through something, whether it's a disability or a loss, or everyone goes through hard things in their life. But what you guys have been able to do physically does blow my mind and is strong strength embodied in itself. And the fact that you guys amaze me because you do so much with the limited energy that it allows. You guys, we've talked about Kyle is the director of Taxia. He's an author, and now you guys co-host a podcast, release his own film. He also leads the AP, the Ambassador Program for FARA, which I'm part of. Sean also has founded his own nonprofit called Determinants. We could go in length about all those things, all the amazing work you guys do with those things and more, but I want to talk with you guys about the next journey you're going on. As if the race across America wasn't enough. You guys are embarking on a new journey now to India.
Yeah, I did a few cycling climbing adventures in the past, and I rode up to the top of the highest paved road in North America. And then last year I rode a super steep mountain in New Hampshire called Mount Washington. And I love the pace of climbing and, just going at 3 miles an hour for 6 hours and enjoying the view. And I just really like it. And so after Mount Washington,
So weird, by the way. I don't get that.
after Mount Washington, I Googled what's the highest paved road in the world. Because I did an off-road ride a couple years ago with my dad and my uncle, and off-road on a trike is so hard. It's just not that fun. So I Googled what's the highest paved road in the world,
Mm,
and it turns out it's in the Himalayas, and it's this pass called Umling La, and it's over 19,000 feet. So this ride will be a 200-mile ride starting at 11,000 feet and ending at 19,000 in a super remote part of northern India.
and you guys are starting on June 28th. That's correct.
I think I told you the wrong date. It's actually June 29th, but
Okay. Okay. I just want everyone
Even better.
I just want everyone to be able to keep up with you guys in your journey.
yeah, we'll end sorry to cut you off, but part of that is that in this place that we're going to be,
Hmm.
there's no cell reception, obviously, but there's also no GPS service. so, so we're not going to be able to. We're trying to think of a way to have people follow us in real time, but yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. How are y'all gonna find y'all's way around?
Well,
Well, we're
I'm pretty sure up in this area there aren't a lot of roads. So
Mhm.
as long as we just get on the right one, I think
Yes.
we're gonna be okay.
Okay.
yeah.
Will y'all be able to film any or I don't know, take a GoPro and share it when you get back, maybe?
Yeah, we're working with a documentary filmmaker named Alan Thompson.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of videos for Farah in the past, and he's coming to India with us, and we're gonna make a film about it.
Okay, awesome. We'll keep an eye out for that. And what platform can people look to on social media or whatever to see updates or see when that film is coming?
Stay tuned. I think the best place is going to be either my Instagram or Sean's Instagram
Okay.
to find updates for that kind of stuff.
And we're both pretty easy to find. I think we just use our name.
Yeah.
Like there's no
Yeah.
numbers or special characters involved.
Okay.
Right.
I'll be sure to link that so people can find you guys. And another thing you talked about on the ambassador call thing was there are other people with FA in India that are gonna meet you up there. Is that correct?
Yeah, so Farah has a global clinical consortium, and one of the new sites is in New Delhi.
Mm,
And so there, we're gonna, one of the days, I'm going out there with Jen Farmer before the team gets there. And one of the days, we're gonna meet with researchers about the latest research that's going on in India and how Farah can help support and keep that going. And then the next day, we're going to meet with the patient community, which is going to be really amazing. I've obviously never been to India and met anyone with the FA that's living in India. And so it's going to be an amazing experience.
So is it gonna be the same people who rode with you in the race across America? There were four riders in that. Is it the same team that will be riding in this one?
Nope, different team. We've got 7 people. So me and Sean, my dad, my uncle, two other FA dads who have daughters that have a FA, and
Hmm.
then Colin Meyer, who is a former executive at Riata, who and Riata is the company that developed Mavaloxolone or Skyclarys.
So although a different team, everybody still has that same interest and commitment to
Yeah.
advancing life with the FA.
And I
Yeah,
think,
that's a good point. I would say it's the same team, but different people, right?
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Same
that's,
mission.
that's a
Yeah.
great way to put it.
And to be fair, I'll give Mike a shout out. Mike, Kyle's dad,
Mm.
was our official team captain for Ram. So, he was a part of the event and driving and, awake for 18 hours a day for a week or whatever it was. So, he's certainly uh, returning as a big part of what Kyle
Yep.
does.
Mhm. And in my last episode, I talked to Scott Oslieb, who was a
Oh,
Team Para climber.
Yeah.
yeah.
Y'all been, have y'all been in contact with him? And I feel like there are a lot of similarities in these two missions.
Yeah, I know I've talked to Scott on the phone a couple times and we're in touch by text and stuff, and he's just an amazing guy, how selfless he is and putting the community first and the Smith family first. He's really a person that we can all learn from. And, I think that we've tried to follow that where, we're Team Farah. We've got the community's interests at heart first. And, we're going to try and come through for the community.
And I encourage you guys, if you have not checked that out yet, to go to episode 5, and watch Scott talk about his journey up Mount Aconcagua in Argentina. Amazing story, amazing guy. And to wrap it up, you guys do a lot in the FA community, and not just do a lot, you do extraordinary things that not an everyday person might think of. And as some might put it, you guys are kind of like FA celebrities, like celebrities in the community. Everybody looks up to you. And so, what are you hoping to accomplish through all of the work you do and through the amount of hours you put in? I think taking care of your body is a full-time job in itself. Like I always say, and you guys do so much on top of that. So, what is your desired outcome in all of it, I guess?
For me, I just want to keep doing as much as I can while I can. And so I think, as far as taking care of my body, the reason I want to take care of it is so I can keep doing what I'm doing. And I think that's a big driving force, is just to do everything I can with the time that I'm given,
Mm.
and take advantage of the opportunities that come by, and being prepared for those things to come is a big part of it.
I would say a big goal or objective uh, for everybody is to move the needle closer to more treatments and a cure. That certainly, I think Kyle, nobody would argue against that, right? That's a collective interest.
Mm.
But personally, as I think Kyle is more talking to, similar. I've never been the one to let this condition define who I am or what I can do. And I find a lot of empowerment every time I'm able to do something that, your average Joe either can't do, wouldn't think about doing, or a doctor may have said, you shouldn't even try that. To me, there's motivation in that to say, I can still do some crazy
Yeah.
stuff. So there's that goal of proving proving the the perception of disability wrong. Not any one person or any one thing, but the overall perception that a wheelchair or disability makes life horrible, which certainly has aspects of that. but it doesn't make life impossible.
Thank you guys so much for joining today and for being so willing to share, and for all you guys do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing these conversations to the forefront, Noah. I know that's something you do with your interest in journalism, is just having these conversations, and really that's where it all starts. So all the amazing things in life, I think, start with ideas and conversations. So thank you.
Exactly.
And there's always room for more conversations and more people having them. So I'm glad you're doing this and building something cool here.
Yeah. Mic drop. That's great. Love it.
You know what? You're the man.
So yeah, people say pressure makes diamonds, and going through hard things, it brings out the best in people. And Kyle and Sean are grand examples of this, because but just when you're diagnosed, it is isolating, and it is like no one will understand me, and I can't fit into what the world says I should be. What the world says a man should be, what the world says is good and right to do. You're not on the same path as everybody else, and with FA you have to do things on your own pace, on your own. You can't follow the script everyone has written out for what your life should look like, what people think you should do. These guys have rewritten that script, and they have made life redefined how meaningful life can be, having disability or not. So they're not just strong because they've overcome FA or because FA is hard, and that while it is true, while they have overcome that, they've not just overcome that and stayed there, stayed stagnant. They've kept turning forward and kept making a great impact on the world. They don't follow anyone else's trail. That's their own. And that's something that's going to leave an impact for the rest of the FA community now and in years to come. And I would say without ride taxi and without being able to ride a track and the AV program being what it is, was there a lot of people who have put work into that, but Kyle does lead the AV program. But without all those things and being able to participate, I would not be where I am right now. It's inspired me, it's empowered me to coin the phrase keep fighting, which I end every episode with, but I went in this episode a little bit differently. So for this episode, I want to finish two disabled dudes style. So in each of their episodes, they finish by thanking someone in their life who has gone above and beyond or gone on their way to help them or to make life easier for them. So, as many of you might know, I went on a trip to Chicago back in March with two of my good family friends, and I was in a wheelchair most of the time while I was in Chicago, just navigating because we stayed downtown. So we walked most of the places we went to. So I was in a wheelchair, and most of the city was accessible, and I was able to do most things being in the wheelchair. But there was we went on a boat tour, and so the Chicago River was a little bit, it was down below the level of the city. And so there's a big staircase to get down to it, but there was no elevator, no ramp, or no alternate route. It was just a big steep staircase. And I can go down a few stairs, but like this was a lot and it was very steep. And it wasn't like I could have held onto the stair rail on one side, but it wasn't like I could grab on both sides and steady myself. Like it would have been dangerous and very difficult. And so we are like, is there any other way we can get down there to the guide? And he's like, well, typically my bosses tell me when people ask me that, they tell me to tell them to come back another day or to um visit another time, hoping that they won't bother. But he was nice enough and took the initiative to lead us around through like a strip of buildings down to an elevator, which took us down, and then we walked around to the river. So it was, it was not obvious rather we would have figured out on our own. But he was nice enough to take his time and instead of helping other customers to help us to be able to go on the tour and be able to do something that we would not have been able to otherwise. And his name was Jeff. I mentioned this in my blog, not for Noah, but from another site, that I have about the memory of my dad. It's called In Loving Memory. But I talk about Jeff and how, he went above and beyond and did something he didn't have to do to help us have a good experience and have a good trip and to be safe as well doing it and not try to get out on the stairs or not have to figure out things on our own and get lost. But he made things very accessible for us, and even when his bosses may not have advised him to, he went out of his way to help us, and he was just a great guy telling us, different facts about the city along the way and giving us restaurant recommendations and really being a great friend to us when he did not have to. So I want to give a shout out to Jeff for this episode and thanks to Disabled Dude Style. So a big thank you to Jeff. Because of him, we did have a great experience on the tour and a great experience in Chicago and a trip that will last, that we will remember for the rest of our lives. So big thank you. And as always, I want to say, if you enjoyed listening to this, I want to encourage you to go and check out all of College On's work and all the things they do to fight the narrative against living with a disability. So it really changed my outlook, and I know it can change yours too. And I also want to say, if you did enjoy listening, like and subscribe, because I will try to keep those coming for you guys, either every month or every other month. Follow me on Instagram. It's at Noah G Creating. That's where I'll be posting my content, my blogs, and my podcast. And also go find me on Facebook at Noah Griffith. Thank you guys so much for listening. Until next time, keep fighting.